Are you Julius Sagamore, the worthless nephew of my late solicitor Pontifex Sagamore?
I do not advertise myself as worthless. But Pontifex Sagamore was my uncle, and I've returned from Australia to succeed to as much of his business as I can persuade his clients to trust me with.
I have heard him speak of you, and I naturally concluded that as you had been packed off to Australia, you must be worthless. However, it does not matter, as my business is very simple. I desire to make my will, leaving everything I possess to my husband. You can hardly go wrong about that, I suppose.
I shall do my best. Pray sit down.
I shall sit down when I feel tired.
As you please. Well, now, before I draw up the will, it'll be necessary for me to know who your husband is.
My husband is a fool and a blackguard. You will state that fact in the will. You will add that it was his conduct that drove me to commit suicide.
But you've not committed suicide.
I shall have when the will is signed.
Oh, of course, quite so. Yes, how stupid of me. And his name?
His name is Alistair Fitzsasenden.
What, the amateur tennis champion and heavyweight boxer?
Do you know him?
Every morning we swim together at the club.
The acquaintance does you little credit.
I'd better tell you that he and I are great friends, Mrs. Fitzsasenden.
Do not call me by his detestable name. Put me in your books as Epifania Ognisanti di Perega.
Oh. Oh, I'm indeed honoured. Pray be seated.
Sit down yourself and don't fuss.
Yes, if you would prefer it, certainly. Your father was a very wonderful man, madam.
My father was the greatest man in the world, and he died a pauper. I shall never forgive the world for that.
A pauper? You amaze me. It was reported that he left you, his only child, 30 million.
Well, what was 30 millions to him? He lost 150 millions. He'd promised to leave me 200 millions. I was left with a beggarly 30. The humiliation of it.
Still an income of $1.5 million.
You forget the death duties. I've barely 700,000 a year. Do you know what that means to a woman brought up on an income of 7 figures? The humiliation of it.
You take my breath away, madam.
As I am about to take my own breath away, I have no time to spare for yours.
Oh, the suicide. Yes, I'd forgotten that.
Had you indeed? Well, would you please put your mind to it for a moment and make a will for me to sign, leaving everything to Alistair?
To humiliate him?
No, to ruin him, to destroy him, to make him a beggar on horseback that he may ride to the devil. Money goes to his head. I've seen it at work on him.
Yes, I also have seen that happen. But you can't be sure. He might marry some sensible woman.
You're right. Make it a condition of the inheritance that within a month from my funeral, he marries a low female named Polly Seedy Stockings.
Funny name.
Her real name is Patricia Smith, but her letters to Alistair are signed Polly Seedy Stockings. As a hint, I suppose, that she wants him to buy her another dozen.
Well, I should like to know, Polly.
Pray why?
Well, if Alistair prefers her to you, she must indeed be worth knowing. So I shall certainly make him introduce me.
You are hardly tactful, Julius Sagamore.
That won't matter when you've taken this.
What's this?
For the suicide. Now, you'll have to sign the chemist's book for the cyanide. Say it's for a wasp's nest. The tartaric acid is harmless, so the chemist will think you wanted to make lemonade. Now, you put the two separately in just enough water to dissolve them, and when you mix the two solutions, the tartaric and potash will combine to make tartrate of potash. This, being insoluble, will be precipitated to the bottom of the glass, and the supernatant fluid will be pure hydrocyanic acid, one sip of which will kill you like a thunderbolt.
You seem to take my death rather coolly, Mr. Sagamore.
Well, I'm used to it.
Do you mean you have so many clients driven to despair that you keep a prescription for them?
I do. It's infallible.
And you're sure they've all died painlessly and instantaneously?
No, they're all alive.
Alive? The prescription's a harmless fraud.
No, it's a deadly poison, but they don't take it.
Why?
I don't know, but they never do.
Well, I will. And I hope you will be hanged for giving it to
I'm
me.
only acting as your solicitor. You say you're going to commit suicide and you come to me for advice, so I do my best for you. So that you can die without wasting a lot of gas or jumping into this serpentine. 6 and 8pence I shall charge your executors.
What? For advising me how to kill myself?
Not today, tomorrow.
Why put it off till tomorrow?
Well, it'll do as well tomorrow as today. And something amusing might happen this evening. Or even tomorrow evening. There's no hurry.
You are a brute, a beast and a pig. You don't even ask what has driven me to this. My life means nothing to you. You make money out of the death of your clients.
Oh, I do. There'll be a lot of business connected with your death. Alistair's sure to come to settle your affairs.
And you think I'm going to kill myself to make money for you?
Well, it's you who've raised my expectations, madam.
Oh, God, listen to this man. Has it ever occurred to you that when a woman's life is wrecked, she needs a little sympathy, not a bottle of poison?
I really can't sympathise with suicide. It doesn't appeal to me somehow. Still, if it has to be done, it had better be done promptly and scientifically.
You don't even ask what Alistair has done to me.
But it won't matter what he's done to you when you're dead. Why bother about it?
You are an unmitigated hog, Julius.
Why worry about me? The prescription will cure everything.
Oh, damn your prescription there!
Oh, it's infallible. Well, now that you've blown off steam, suppose you sit down and tell me all about it.
You call the outcry of an anguished heart blowing off steam, do you?
Well, what else would you call it?
You're not a man, you're a rhinoceros. You're also a fool.
No, I'm only a solicitor.
You're a rotten solicitor. You're not a gentleman. You insult me in my distress. You back up my husband against me. You have no decency, no humanity. You're a fish with the soul of a black beetle, do you hear?
Oh, yes, I hear, and I congratulate myself on the number of actions for libel I shall have to defend if you do me the honour of making me your solicitor.
You are wrong. I never utter a libel. My father instructed me most carefully in the law of libel. If I questioned your solvency, that would be a libel. If I suggested that you are unfaithful to your wife, that would be a libel. But if I say that you are a rhinoceros, which you are, a most unmitigated rhinoceros, that is only vulgar abuse. I take good care to confine myself to vulgar abuse, and I have never had an action for libel taken against me. Is that the law, or is it not?
I really don't know. I'll look it up in my law
You need
books.
not. I instruct you that it is the law. My father had to instruct his lawyers in law. Solicitors are no good at law. They are only good at practice, as they call it. My father was a great man. Every day of his life he did things no one else ever dreamt of doing. I may not perhaps be a great woman, but I am his daughter, and as such I am an unusual woman. You will take the law from me and do exactly as I tell you to do.
Well, that will simplify our relations considerably, madam.
And remember, I have no sense of humour. I will not be laughed at.
Madam, I shouldn't dream of laughing at a client with an income of $750,000.
Have you a sense of humour?
Try and keep it in check, but I'm afraid I have a little. You appeal to it somehow.
Then I tell you, in cold blood, after careful consideration of my words, that you are a heartless blackguard. My distress, my disgrace, my humiliation, the horrible mess and failure I've made of my life seem to you merely funny.
I don't know anything about your distress, your disgrace, the mess you've made of your life and all the rest of it. How can I laugh at things I don't know? If I am laughing, and am I really laughing? I assure you, I'm laughing not at your misfortunes, but at you.
Oh, indeed. Am I so comic a figure in my misery?
What is your misery? Oh, do pray sit down.
You seem to have one idea in your head, and that is to get your clients to sit down. Oh, very well. To oblige you. Oh! Oh, I cannot even sit in a chair without wrecking it. My life is cursed. I laugh, fool, clown.
My best fake Hepplewhite gone. It cost me 4 guineas. Now, will you please sit down as gently as you can and stop calling me names? And then, if you wish, you can tell me what on earth is the matter.
Wrecking of that chair has calmed and relieved me somehow. I feel as though I'd broken your neck as I wanted to. Now, listen to me. And don't stand over me like that. Sit down on what is left of your sham Hepplewhite.
Yes, certainly, madam. Now, go ahead.
My father was the greatest man in the world. I was his only child. His one dread was that I should make a foolish marriage and lose what little money he was able to leave me.
The 30 million.
Oh, don't interrupt. He made me promise that whenever a man asked me to marry him, I was to impose a condition on my consent.
So what condition?
I was to give him £150 and tell him that if within 6 months he changed that £150 into 50,000, I was his. If not, I was never to see him again. I saw the wisdom of this. Nobody but my father could have thought of such a real, infallible and sentimental test. I gave him my sacred promise that I would carry it out faithfully.
And you broke that promise, I see.
What do you mean, broke that promise?
Well, you married Alistair. Now, Alistair's a dear good fellow. He's one of the best in his way. But you're not going to persuade me he made £50,000 in 6 months with a capital of 150?
He did. Wise as my father was, he sometimes forgot the wise things he said 5 minutes after he'd said them. He warned me that 90% of our self-made millionaires are criminals who take a 500 to 1 chance and get away with it by pure luck. Alistair was that sort of criminal.
Oh, no, not a criminal. That's not like Alistair. He's a fool, perhaps, in business, but not a criminal.
Like all solicitors, you think you know my husband better than I do. I tell you, Alistair came back after 6 months' probation with £50,000 in his pocket, instead of the penal servitude he so richly deserved. That man's luck is extraordinary. He always wins. He wins at tennis, he wins at boxing. He won me, the richest heiress in England.
But you were a consenting party. If not, why did you put him to the test? Why did you give him the 150 to try his luck with?
Boxing?
Boxing?
Yes, his boxing fascinated me. My father always held that a woman should be able to defend herself. He made me study judo.
Judo? Do you mean Hebrew?
Hebrew? Nonsense. Judo, jiu-jitsu. It's what common people call jiu-jitsu. I could throw you through that window as easily as you handed me that rotten chair.
Japanese wrestling? Oh, that's rather a rough sport for a lady.
How dare you call judo a sport? It's a religion.
Oh, forgive me. Go on with your story, and please break it to me as gently as you can. I've never had a client like you before.
You never will again.
No, I don't doubt it for a moment. Now, tell me, where does Alistair come in?
I saw him in an amateur heavyweight championship. He has a solar plexus punch no other boxer can withstand.
And you married a man because he had a superlative solar plexus punch.
Well, he was handsome. He stripped well, unlike most handsome men. I'm not insusceptible to sex appeal, very far from it.
Oh, quite. You needn't go into details.
I will if I like. It is your business as a solicitor to know the details. I made a very common mistake. I thought this irresistible athlete would prove an ardent lover. It was nothing of the sort. All his ardour was in his fists. Never shall I forget the day. It was during our honeymoon, when his coldness infuriated me to such a degree that I went for him with my fists. He knocked me out with that abominable punch in the first exchange. Have you ever been knocked out by a punch in the solar plexus?
No, thank heaven, I'm not a pugilist.
It does not put you to sleep like a punch on the jaw. When he saw my face contorted in agony and my body writhing on the floor, he was horrified. He said he did it automatically, that he always countered that way, by instinct. I almost respected him for it.
Then why do you want to get rid of him?
I want to get rid of myself. I want to punish myself for the horrible mess I've made of my life and for marrying an imbecile. And now you put me off with your fooling. I don't know what I want. That's a horrible state of mind. I'm a woman who must always want something and always get it.
An acquisitive woman, precisely. Yes, how splendid. Excuse me. Yes. Oh, one moment, hold the line. Your husband is outside with a woman. They want to see me.
That woman! Have them in at once.
But can I depend on you to control yourself?
You can depend on Alistair's fists. I must have a look at seedy stockings. Have them in, I tell you.
Send Mr. Fitzfassen and the lady in, please.
We shall now see the sort of woman for whom he has deserted me.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I expect something marvellous.
Don't be a fool. Expect something utterly common.
Eppie, what are you doing here?
Introduce the female.
Patricia Smith is my name, Mrs. Fitzfassen.
That is not how you sign your letters, I believe.
Now, don't begin making a row, Eppie.
I was not speaking to you. I was speaking to the woman.
You have no right to call her a woman.
Now, Allie, you promised me.
Promised you? How dare he promise you? What right had he to promise you? How dare you make him promise you?
I won't have Polly insulted.
You don't mind Miss Smith, do you?
No, I don't mind. My sister goes on just like that.
Your sister? You presume to compare your sister to me?
Well, only when she goes off at the deep end. Now, you mustn't mind me. There's nothing like letting yourself go if you're built that way. Introduce me to the gentleman, Ali.
Yes, of course, I forgot. I'm sorry. And Mr. Julius Sagamore, my solicitor, an old pal, Miss Smith.
Alias Polly Seedy Stockings.
That's only a pet name, Mr. Sagamore. Smith is the patronymic, as dear, wise old father says.
She sets up a wise father. This is the last straw.
Do sit down, Miss Smith, won't you?
Oh, hello. What's happened to the chair?
I have happened to the chair. Let it be a warning to you.
Mr. Sagamore, it's like this. Alistair...
You need not explain. I have explained everything to Mr. Sagamore. And will you please have the decency in his presence and in mine to refer to my husband as Mr. Fitzfassenden? His Christian name is no concern of yours.
Well, if you won't let anyone speak...
I am not preventing you nor anybody from speaking. If you have anything to say for yourself, say it.
But I am sorry, but it's such a long name. In my little circle, we call him just Ali.
Do hear that, Mr. Sagamore. My husband is called Ali by these third-rate people. What right have they to speak of him at all? Am I to endure this?
Yes, we know you have to put up with a lot, dearie.
Dearie?
But that's what the world is like.
The world is like that to people who are like that. My world is not your world. Every woman has her own world within her own soul. Mr. Sagamore, I married this man. I admitted him to my world. The world my imagination had peopled with heroes and saints. Never before had a real man been permitted to enter it. I took him to be hero, saint, lover. All in one. What he really was, you can see for yourself.
Well, I won't stand for this.
Yes, go ahead. Strike me. Show her your knockout punch. Let her see how you treat women.
Oh, damn!
Don't get rattled, Ali. You'll only put yourself in the wrong before Mr. Sagamore. I think you'd better go home. Let me have it out with her.
Would you have the goodness not to speak of me as her? My name is Mrs. Fitzfassenden. I am not a pronoun.
Sorry, but your name's such a tongue twister. Mr. Sagamore, don't you think Ali had better go? It's not right that we should argue about him to his face. Besides, he's worn out. He's hardly slept all night.
How do you know that, pray?
Never mind how I know it, I do.
It was innocent. But where was I to go after you'd driven me out of the house with your tantrums?
You went to her?
I went to Miss Smith. She's not a pronoun, you know. I went to where I could find peace and kindness. To my good, sweet, darling Polly. So there.
Well, I have no sense of humour, but this strikes me as irresistibly funny. You mean you actually left me to spend the night in the arms of Seedy Stocking?
No, I tell you, it was innocent.
Was he in your arms or was he not?
Yes, of course he was for a while, but not in the way you mean.
Oh, then he's even a more sexless fish than I took him for. But really, a man capable of flouncing out of the house when I was on the point of pardoning him and giving him a night of legitimate bliss is capable of any imbecility.
Pardoning me? Pardoning me for what? What had I done when you flew out at me?
I did not fly out at you. I've never lost my dignity, even under the most insufferable wrong.
You hadn't any wrongs. You drove me out of the house.
I did not. I never meant you to go. It was abominably selfish of you. You had your Seedy Stockings to go to. I had nobody. Adrian was out of town.
Adrian? Oh, this is a new complication. Who's Adrian?
Adrian is Mrs. Fitzfassenden's Sunday husband, Mr. Sagamore.
My what did you say?
Your Sunday husband. You understand. What Adrian Blenderbland is to you, as it were, what Ali is to me.
I don't quite follow. What is Mr. Blenderbland to you, Mrs. Fitzfassenden, if I may ask?
Well, he is a gentleman with whom I discuss subjects which are beyond my husband's mental grasp, which is extremely limited.
He's a chap who sets himself up to be an intellectual because his father was a publisher. He makes up to Eppie and pretends that he's in love with her because she has a good cook. I tell her that he cares for nothing but his food. He always calls at mealtime. A belly god, I call him, and I am expected to put up with this. And if I so much as look at Polly, oh my!
Cases are completely different. Adrian worships the ground I tread on, true, but if you think Seedy Stockings worships the ground you tread on, you flatter yourself grossly. She endures you and pets you because you buy her stockings and anything else she may be short of.
Well, I never contradict anyone, because it only makes trouble. And I'm afraid I do cost him a good deal because he likes me to have nice things that I can't afford.
No, you don't. No, you don't, my dear. You're as good as gold. Why, I'm always pressing things on you that you won't take, and you're a jolly sight more careful with my money than I am myself.
Oh, touching. You are the Sunday wife, I suppose.
No, I should say that you are the Sunday wife, Mrs. Fitzfassenden. It's I that have to look after his clothes and make him get his hair cut.
Oh, surely the creature's intelligent enough to do that for himself.
You don't understand men. They get interested in other things and neglect themselves unless they have a woman to look after them. You see, Mr. Sagamore, it's like this. There are two sorts of people in the world. The people that anyone can live with and the people that no one can live with. Well, the people that no one can live with may be very good-looking and splendid and temperamental and romantic and all that, and they can make a man or a woman happy for half an hour if they're pleased with themselves and disposed to be agreeable. But if you try to live with them, they eat up your whole life running after them or quarrelling or attending to them one way or another. Can't call your soul your own. As Sunday husbands and wives to have a good tearing bit of love-making with, or a blazing row, or mostly one on top of the other once a month or so, they're all right. But as regular partners, they're just impossible.
Yes, so I am the Sunday wife, and what, pray, are you?
Oh, I'm the angel of the house, if you follow me.
You are, dear, you are.
You're his doormat, that's what you are.
Doormat's a very useful thing if you want the house kept tidy, dear.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. Did you say Blenderbland?
Adrian, how did he know I was here?
Will you ask the gentleman to wait? Perhaps you'll tell me something about him, Mrs. Fitz. Is he the chairman of Blenderbland's Literary Pennyworths?
Oh, no, that is his father who created the business. Adrian is on the board, but he has no business ability. He's on 15 boards of directors on the strength of his father's reputation and has never, as far as I know, contributed an idea to any of them.
Be fair to him, Eppie. I mean, no one in London knows how to order dinner better. I mean, this is what keeps him at the top in the city.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I think I have his measure sufficiently. Shall I have him in?
Certainly. I want to know what he's doing here.
Yes, well, I don't mind. You do understand, of course, that I'm not supposed to know anything of his relations with my wife, whatever they may be.
They are completely innocent, so far. I am not quite convinced that I love Adrian. He makes himself agreeable to me, that is all.
Will you send Mr. Blenderbland in, please?
You will now see the blighter who's cut me out with Eppie.
Oh, I can't imagine any man cutting you out with any woman, dear.
Would you be good enough to restrain your endearments when he comes in?
Hello, where have we all come from? Good morning, Mrs. Fitzfassenden. How do, Alistair? Mr. Sagamore, I presume. I did not know you were engaged.
Your arrival is quite opportune, sir. Will you have the goodness to sit down?
Thank you. I hope I'm not interrupting this lady.
Oh, no, not at all. Don't mind me.
Miss Smith, an intimate friend of Mr. Fitzfassenden.
Pleased to meet you, I'm sure.
The fact is, Mrs. Fitzfassenden mentioned your name to me in conversation as her choice of a new solicitor, so I thought I could not place myself in better hands.
But excuse me, had you not a solicitor of your own?
Oh, my dear Mr. Sagamore, never be content with a single opinion. When I feel ill, I always consult at least half a dozen doctors. The variety of their advice and prescriptions convinces me that I had better cure myself. When a legal point arises, I always consult 6 solicitors with much the same result.
You know I have no sense of humour. You know it annoys me when you talk the sort of nonsense that's supposed to be funny. Did you come here to consult Mr. Sagamore about me?
I did, but of course I expected to find him alone.
Oh, and here we are, the whole caboodle.
I was speaking to Mr. Blenderbland. I was not speaking to you. And I'm not a member of your caboodle, as you call it.
Sorry, dear. Just a reminder I was still listening.
Has the matter on which you wish to consult me any reference to Mr. Fitzfassenden's family circle?
It has.
Yes. And is it of such a nature that sooner or later it'll have to be discussed amongst all the adult members of that circle?
Well, yes, I suppose so. But hadn't we better talk about it a little in private first?
You shall do no such thing. I will not have my affairs discussed in private or in public. They concern myself alone.
May I not discuss my own affairs?
With my solicitor, I will not have it.
Now she's off in the deep end again. We may as well go home.
Oh, the deep end, the deep end. What is life if it is not to be lived at the deep end? Oh, Alistair, you are a tadpole.
Oh, don't do that.
Smooth it for him, angel of the house.
Shouldn't make a sight of him like that.
Mr. Fitzfassenden, why did you marry Mrs. Fitzfassenden?
Why? What does that require any explanation? I've already told you why I married him.
Although you may not think it, she can be frightfully fascinating when she really wants to be.
Why might he not think that? What do you mean?
Oh, he knows what I mean.
Oh, it's some silly joke, I suppose.
Don't be absurd, Fitzfassenden. Your wife is the most adorable woman on earth.
Not here, Adrian. If you're going to talk like that, let's go somewhere where we can be alone.
Oh, for heaven's sake, do before you drive us all crazy.
Now, steady, steady. I hardly know where I am. Now, you're all consulting me, but none of you's given me any instructions. Hadn't you better all be divorced?
What is the creature to live on? He has nothing. He would have had to become a professional boxer or tennis player if his uncle had not pushed him into an insurance business where he was perfectly useless.
Effie, I don't think Mr. Sagamore wants to hear
He
about all
does.
this.
He
but-
shall. Be silent. Mr. Sagamore, when Alistair proposed to me, was too great an idiot to comprehend his own audacity. I kept my father's promise. I gave him a cheque for £150. Turn this into 50,000 within 6 months, I said, and I am yours.
You never told me this.
Why should I? It's a revolting story.
Well, what's revolting about it? Did I make good or did I not? Did I risk hell to get the money and win your hand, or did I not?
Do I understand you to say, Alistair, that you made £50,000 in 6 months?
Why not?
You may well look incredulous, Adrian, but he did. This imbecile made £50,000 and won Epifania Ognissanti di Perega for his bride. I kept my word and married him instantly. Then, too late, I discovered how he had made it.
Well, how did I make it? By my own brains.
Brains by your own folly, your own ignorance, and your criminal instincts, and the luck that attends the half-witted. What you deserved was 5 years penal servitude.
5 years? 15 more like that's what I risked for you. And what did I get by it? Living with you was far worse than any penal servitude.
It would have been heaven for you if nature had equipped you for such a companionship as mine. But what was it for me? No man had ever been good enough for me. I was like a princess in a fairy tale, offering my hand and fortune to any man who could turn my £150 into 50,000 within 6 months. Able men, brilliant men, the youngest sons of the noblest families either refused or failed the test. Why? Because they were too honest or too proud. This thing succeeded, and I found myself tied for life to an insect.
You may say what you like, but you were just as much in love with me as I was with you.
Well, you were young. You were shaped well. Your lawn tennis was outstanding. You were a magnificent boxer. I was attracted by physical contact with you.
Oh, is it necessary to be so very explicit, Mrs. Fitzfassenden?
Julius Sagamore, you may be made of sawdust. I am made of flesh and blood. Alistair is physically attractive. It's my sole excuse for having married him. Have you the face to pretend he has any mental charm?
But how did he make the £50,000? Was it on the stock exchange?
Nonsense. The creature doesn't know the difference between a cumulative preference and a deferred ordinary. Wouldn't know how to begin.
But how did he begin? My bank balance is at present about 150. I should very much like to know how to make it up to 50,000. You are so rich, Epiphania, that you don't know how a man to whom £100 is a considerable sum feels in the arms of a woman to whom £1 million is mere pin money.
And you don't know how it feels to be a woman in the arms of a man and know that you could buy him 20 times over and not miss the price.
If I give you my £150, will you invest it for me?
It is not worth investing. You cannot make money on the stock exchange until your weekly account is at least 70,000. Do not meddle with money, Adrian. You do not understand it. I will give you all you need.
No, thank you. I should lose my self-respect. I prefer the poor man's luxury of paying for your cabs and flowers and theatre tickets and lunches at the Ritz and all the little sums you have occasion for when we are together.
It's quite true. I never carry pocket money about with me. I must owe you millions in odd £5 notes. I will tell my bankers that you want 1,000 on account.
But I don't. I love lending you fivers, only as they run through my comparatively slender means at an appalling rate. I should honestly like a few lessons from Alistair in the art of turning hundreds into tens of thousands.
His example would be useless to you, Adrian, because Alistair's one of nature's marvels, and there's nothing marvellous about you, except your appetite.
Do explain how Alistair made the £50,000.
I leave him to tell that disgraceful tale himself. I believe he's proud of it.
Well, it worked out all right, but it was a near thing, I can tell you. And what I did was this. I met an American, and I told him that I was crazy about a woman who wouldn't marry me unless I made 50,000 in 6 months, and I had only £150 in all the world. He jumped up and said, "Why, man alive, if you've got £150, you can open a bank account, you can get a checkbook." I said, "Well, what good is a checkbook?" And he said, "Are we partners? 50-50? And I said, yes, you know, I mean, what else could I say? That very day, we started in. We lodged the money, and we took out a book of 150 cheques. We took a theatre. We engaged a first-rate company. We got a play. We had a splendid production. The girls were lovely. The scenery was lovely. The principal woman was an angry-eyed creature with a queer foreign voice and a Hollywood accent, just the sort the public adore. We never asked the price of anything. We just went in, up to our necks, for thousands and thousands.
But how did you pay for all these things?
With our cheques. Didn't I tell you we had a chequebook?
But when the £150 was gone, the cheques must have been dishonoured.
Not one of them. We kited them all.
I don't understand. What does kiting mean?
Oh, it's quite simple. You pay for something with a cheque after the banks have closed for the day. If it's on Saturday or just before a bank holiday, all the better. Now, say the cheque is for £100 and you've not a penny at the bank. You must then induce a friend or a hotel manager to cash another cheque for £100 for you. That provides for the previous cheque. But it obliges you, on pain of 18 months' hard labour, to induce another friend or hotel manager to cash another cheque for you for £200. And so you go on, spending and kiting from hundreds to thousands, and from risks of 18 months' imprisonment to 5 years, 10 years, or 14 years even.
And if you think that's an easy job, just try it for yourself, that's all. I dream about it sometimes. It's my worst nightmare. Why, my partner and I, we never saw that play, we never saw that theatre. Up to the first night, we were signing cheques and kiting them all the time. Well, of course, it became easier after a while, because as we began to pay our way all right, we found it easier to get credit, and the big expenses didn't come in until after the play was produced and the money started to come in. I could have done it for half the amount, but the American, he couldn't keep himself up with the excitement of it, unless we paid twice as much as we needed for everything. But it didn't really matter. Once that money started to come in, and my, oh my, did it come in. The whole town went mad about the angry-eyed woman. It rained money in buckets full. It went to my head like drink. It went to the American's head. It went to the head of the American's American friends. We bought the rights. We bought the film rights, the touring rights, the translation rights, all sorts of rights that I didn't even know existed. And they sold them off to one another so that everyone in New York and in Hollywood and in London, they all had a rake-off on them. But I only wanted £50,000, and so I cleared out with that, and I went swanking back to claim Eppie's hand, and she thought I was great. And I was great. The money made me great. I tell you, I was drunk with it. I was another man, and you can believe it or not as you wish, but my hats were really too small for me.
It's quite true. The creature was quite transfigured. I, poor innocent, had no suspicion that money could work such miracles, for I'd possessed millions from my cradle. It meant no more to me than the air I breathed.
But just now, when I suggested a divorce, you asked how he was to live. What has become of the £50,000?
He bought a circus with it. He thought everything he touched would turn to gold. 3 weeks later, I had to liquidate that circus. He was about to turn the wild beasts loose and run away when I intervened. I was down £430, 16 7 by the transaction.
Ah, was it my fault? The elephant got influenza. The Ministry of Health closed us down, wouldn't let me move on because they thought the animals would carry foot and mouth disease.
At all events, instead of being 50,000 to the good, I was 430 to the bad. And now Alistair has the audacity to ask me for a divorce.
No, I don't. Oh, Sagamore suggested that. How can I afford to let you divorce me? I mean, as your husband, I enjoy a good deal of social consideration, and the tradesmen give me unlimited credit.
Yes, for stockings, among other things.
Ali, does she pay pay for them.
Now, never mind, dear. Look, I have shown that I can make money when I'm put to it. I will make money again, and I will buy you all the silk stockings you need out of my own earnings. Now, don't cry, darling.
They think they're married already.
The matter is not in your hands, Mr. Fitzfassenden. Mrs. Fitzfassenden can divorce you whether you like it or not. The evidence is that on a recent occasion you left your wife and took refuge in the arms of Miss Smith. The courts will give Mrs. Fitzfassenden a decree on that.
Well, let it. I can support Alistair till he has time to make another fortune. You all think him a fool, but he's a dear, good boy. And it disgusts me the way you all turn against him and the way his wife treats him like dirt under her feet. What would she be without her money, I'd like to know?
Nobody is anybody without money, C.D. Stockings. My dear old father taught me that. Stick to your money, he said, and all other things shall be added unto you. He said it was from the Bible. I've never verified the quotation, but I've never forgotten it. I have stuck to my money, and I shall continue to stick to it. Rich as I am, I can hardly forgive Alistair for letting me down £430.
16 and 7pence, you stingy beast, but I'll pay it.
You will, dear. I shall sell out my insurance and give it to you.
May I have that in writing, Miss Smith?
Oh, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, you greedy pig. It was your fault. Why did you let the elephant go for £30? It cost 200.
Yes, don't let's wander from the point.
Yeah, well, what is the point, pray?
The point is that you can obtain a divorce if you wish.
I don't wish. Do you think I'm going to be dragged through the divorce court and have my picture in the papers with that thing? To have the story of my infatuation in headlines in every rag in London? Besides, it suits me to be married. It's respectable, it keeps other men off, it gives me a freedom I could not enjoy as a single woman. Besides, I'm accustomed to a husband. No, decidedly no, I will not divorce Alistair. At least not until I find a substitute whom I really want.
Couldn't divorce him unless he chose to let you. Alistair's too much the gentleman to mention it. But as you very well know, your own behaviour hasn't been so very nun-like that you dare have it shown up in court.
Alistair is the first man I ever loved, and I hope he won't be the last. But legal difficulties do not exist for people with money. At all events, as Alistair cannot afford to divorce me, and I don't wish to divorce him, the question does not arise. What o'clock is it?
I do think you might buy a wristwatch, Eppie. I've told you so over and over again.
Why should I go to the expense of buying a wristwatch when everyone else has one? I've nothing to do but ask.
It's 12:10.
Oh, goodness gracious, I've missed my lesson. Oh, how annoying.
Listen, what are you learning now, may I ask?
Judo, when you next indulge in your favourite sport of wife-beating, look out for a surprise. Mr. Sagamore, what did I come here for?
To give me instructions about your will.
She draws up a new will whenever she loses her temper, Sagamore. Jolly good business for you.
Do be quiet, Alistair. You forget the dignity of your position as my husband. Mr. Sagamore, I have changed my mind about my will. And I shall overlook your attempt to poison me.
Oh, thank you.
What do I owe you for this abortive consultation?
13 and 4pence, if you please.
Oh, yes, well, I never carry money about with me. Adrian, lend me 13 and 4pence. Stop. Mr. Sagamore, you had better become my family solicitor and send in your bill at the end of the year.
And send a county court summons with it, Sagamore, or you may go whistle for your money.
Do hold your tongue, Alistair. Of course I wait for a summons. It's a simple precaution against paying bills sent in twice over.
Quite, Mrs. Fitzfassenden, an excellent rule.
You're a man of sense, Mr. Sagamore. I must get some fresh air. This orgy of domesticity's made the room stuffy. Come along, Adrian. We'll drive into the country and lunch there. I know the quaintest little place upriver. Goodbye, Mr. Sagamore. Goodbye, C.D. Stockings. Take care of Alistair for me. His good looks will give you a pleasing sensation down your spine.
By the way, Mr. Blenderbland, what did you come for?
I totally forget. I don't feel equal to any more this morning.
Your wife is a most extraordinary lady.
Can't find words for her, poor dear.
Now, Mr. Fitzfassenden, may I ask what you came to consult me about?
Oh, I don't know. After 10 minutes with Eppie, I don't know whether I'm standing on my head or on my
It
heels.
was about a separation. Pull yourself together a bit, dear.
Separation, you may as well go and try and separate yourself from a hurricane. Come along, Seedy, my darling. We mustn't waste a busy man's time.
Mr. Sagamore, you'll stand by us, won't you? You'll save Ali from that awful woman. You'll save him for me.
I'm afraid I can't control her, Miss Smith. What's worse, I'm afraid she can control me. It's not only that I can't afford to offend so rich a client, it's that her will paralyses mine. The sort of genius some people have.
Don't be afraid of her, Mr. Sagamore. She has a genius for making money. It's in her family. Money comes to her. But I have my little bit of genius too, and she can't paralyse me.
And what have you a genius for, Miss Smith, if I may ask?
For making people happy. Unhappy people come to me as money comes to her.
I can't think that your will is stronger than hers, Miss Smith.
Oh, it isn't, Mr. Sagamore. I have no will at all. I get what I want somehow. You'll see.
CD, come on.
Oh, coming, darling. Bye, Mr. Sagamore. You'll see.
I think I shall wait and see.
How jolly.
I must be a very attractive man.
Indeed. Well, not that I'm denying it, but what has it to do with what I just said?
You said, how jolly. I look round at this rotten old inn, trying to pretend it's a riverside hotel. We've just had a horrible meal of tomato tea called soup, the remains of Sunday's joint, sprouts, potatoes, apple tart, and stale American synthetic cheese. If you can suffer this and say how jolly, there must be some irresistible attraction present, and I can see nothing that is not utterly repulsive, except myself.
Don't you like these old world places? I do.
I don't. They ought all to be rooted up, pulled down, burnt to the ground. Your flat on the embankment in London costs more to furnish than this place did to build from the cellar to the roof. You can get a decent lunch there, perfectly served by a word through the telephone. Your luxurious car will whisk you out to one of a dozen hotels in lovely scenery, and yet you choose this filthy old inn and say, how jolly. What is the use of being a millionairess on such terms?
When I was first let loose on the world with unlimited money, do you know how long it took me to get tired of shopping and sick of the luxuries you think so much of? About a fortnight. My father, when he had £100 million, travelled third class and never spent more than 10 shillings a day on himself, unless he was entertaining people who were useful to him. Why should he? He couldn't eat more than anybody else. He couldn't drink more than anybody else. He couldn't wear more than anybody else. Neither can I.
Then why do you love money and hate spending it?
Because money is power. Money is security. Money is freedom.
To me, money is a vulgar bore and a soul-destroying worry. I need it, of course, but I don't like it. I never think of it when I can possibly help it.
If you don't think about money, what do you think about? Women?
Yes, of course, but not exclusively.
Food?
Well, I am not always thinking about my food, but I am rather particular about it. I confess I look forward to a better lunch than that.
Oh, so that is what has put you out of temper.
I am not out of temper, I hope. But you promised me a very special treat, Epiphania. You said you'd found a wonderful place on the river where we could be ourselves and enjoy a delightful cottage meal in primitive surroundings. Where is the charm of this dismal hole? Have you ever eaten a viler lunch? There is not even a private sitting room. Anyone could walk in here at any moment. I used to be much more comfortable at Richmond or Maidenhead. And I believe it is raining.
Oh, is that my fault?
It completes your notion of a happy day on the river. Why is it that the people who know how to enjoy themselves never have any money, and the people who have money never know how to enjoy themselves?
You're not making yourself very agreeable, Adrian.
You are not entertaining me very munificently, Epiphania. Oh, for heaven's sake, let's get into the car and drive about the country. It's much more luxurious than this hideous coffee room, and more private.
I'm tired of my car.
I am not. I wish I could afford one like it.
I thought you would enjoy sitting in this crazy, out-of-the-way place talking to me, when I find you're nothing but a spoiled old bachelor. You think about nothing but your food and your little comforts. You're worse than Alistair. At least he could talk about tennis and boxing.
And you can talk about nothing but money.
And you think money uninteresting. Oh, you should have known my father.
I am very glad I did not.
What did you say?
My dear Epiphania, if we are to remain friends, I may as well be perfectly frank with you. Everything you've told me about your father convinces me that he was no doubt an affectionate parent and amiable enough to explain your somewhat tiresome father fixation, as Dr. Freud would call it. He must have been quite the most appalling bore ever to devastate even a Rotary Club.
My father, you infinite nothingness. My father made 150 million pounds. You never even made $500,000.
My good girl, your father never made anything. I have not the slightest notion of how he contrived to get a legal claim on so much of what other people made.
You rotten thing! Take that for calling my father a bore.
Restrain yourself! You might have hurt me very seriously.
I shall hurt you till you wish yourself dead. Scum! Filth! Killed me.
What's the matter? What's going on here?
Who the devil are you?
I'm an Egyptian doctor. I hear a great disturbance. You come in here in convulsions. Can I help?
I am dying.
Nonsense, I can swear. The fit has subsided. You can sit up now. You're quite well. Good afternoon.
Stop! I'm not quite well. I'm on the point of death. I need a doctor. I am a rich woman.
In that case, you'll have no difficulty in finding an English doctor. Is there anyone else here who needs my help? The noise was of some body falling downstairs.
Never
He may
mind
have broken
him.
some bones.
Never mind him. If he'd broken every bone in his body, it's no more than he deserved. Come back instantly. I want you. Come back. Come back.
The landlord is taking a gentleman to the cottage hospital in your car.
In my car, I will not permit it. Let them get an ambulance.
The car has gone. You should be very glad that it is being so useful.
It is your business to doctor me, not to lecture me.
I am not your doctor. I am not in general practice. I keep a clinic for penniless Mohammedan refugees, and I work in the hospital. I cannot attend to you.
You must attend to me. You shall attend to me. Are you going to abandon me here to die?
You are not dying. Not yet, at least. Your own doctor will attend to you.
You are my own doctor, I tell you. I am a rich woman. Doctor's fees are nothing to me. Charge me what you please, but you must and shall attend to me. You are abominably rude, but you inspire confidence as a doctor.
If I attended all those in whom I inspire confidence, I should be worn out in a week. I have to reserve myself for poor and useful people.
Then you're either a fool or a Bolshevik.
I am nothing but a servant of Allah.
You are not. You are my doctor. I am a sick woman. You cannot abandon me to die in this wretched place.
I see no symptoms of any sickness about you. Are you in pain?
Yes, horrible pain.
Where?
Don't cross-examine me as though you didn't believe me. I must have sprained my wrist throwing that beast all over the place.
Which hand?
No, I don't know. This one.
Nothing whatever the matter.
How do you No, it's my hand, not yours.
You would scream the house down if you had sprained your wrist. You're shamming, lying. Why? Is it to make yourself interesting?
Make myself interesting, man. I am interesting.
Not in the least medically. Are you interesting in any other way?
I am the most interesting woman in England. I am Epifanio Misanti di Perega.
Never heard of her. Italian aristocrat, I presume.
Aristocrat? You take me for a fool. My ancestors were moneylenders to all of Europe 500 years ago. Now we are bankers of all the world.
Jewess, eh?
Christian to the last drop of my blood. The stupidest Di Perega can walk round the cleverest Jew when it comes to money-making. We're the only real aristocracy in the world, the aristocracy of money.
The plutocracy, in fact.
If you like, I am a plutocrat of the plutocrats.
Well, that is a disease for which I do not prescribe. The only known cure is a revolution. But the mortality rate is high, and sometimes, if it's the wrong sort of revolution, it intensifies the disease. I can do nothing for you. I must go back to my work. Good morning.
But this is your work. What else have you to do?
There is a great deal to be done in the world besides attending rich, imaginary invalids.
But if you are paid well...
I make the little money I need by work which I venture to think more important.
Then you are a pig, a beast, and a Bolshevik. It's the most abominable thing to leave me here in my distress. My car is gone. I have no money. I never carry money about.
I have none to carry. Your car will return presently. You can borrow money from your chauffeur.
You are an unmitigated hippopotamus. You're a basher bazooka. I might have known it by that ridiculous tarboosh. You should take it off in my presence. At least have the manners to wait with me until my chauffeur comes back.
He has come back.
Damn. Can't you wait until he's had a cup of tea and a cigarette?
No. Please give me back my fez.
I wanted to see what you look like without it. There. Now, listen to me. You're having an adventure. Have you no romance in you? Haven't you even common curiosity? Don't you want to know why I threw that beast downstairs? Don't you want to throw your wretched work to the devil for once and have an afternoon on the river with an interesting and attractive woman?
Women are neither interesting nor attractive to me, except when they are ill. I know too much about them, inside and out. You are perfectly well.
Liar! Nobody is perfectly well. Nor ever has been, nor ever will be.
That is true. You must have brains of a sort. I remember when I began as a young surgeon. I killed several patients by my operations because I had been taught that I must go on cutting until there was nothing left but perfectly healthy tissue. As there's no such thing as perfectly healthy tissue. I should have cut my patients entirely away if the nurse had not stopped me before they died on the table. They died after they left the hospital, but as they were carried away from the table alive, I was able to claim a successful operation. Are you married?
Yes, but you need not be afraid. My husband is openly unfaithful to me and cannot take you to court if you make love to me. I can divorce him if necessary.
And the man you threw downstairs, who was he? One does not throw one's husband downstairs. Did he make love to you?
No. He insulted my father's memory because he was disappointed with his lunch here. When I think of my father, all ordinary men seem to me the merest trash. You are not an ordinary man. I should like to see some more of you. Well, now you have asked me confidential questions about my family, and I have answered them. You can no longer pretend that you are not my family, Doctor, so that is settled.
A father fixation, you say. And an excess of money.
A beggarless 30 million.
A psychological curiosity. I will consider it.
Consider it. You will feel honored, gratified, delighted.
I see enormous self-confidence, reckless audacity, insane egotism, apparently sexless.
Sexless? Who told you that I am sexless?
You talk to me as if you were a man. There is no mystery, no separateness, no sacredness about men to you. A man to you is only the male of your species.
My species, indeed. Man is a different and very inferior species. 5 minutes' conversation with my husband would prove to you that he and I do not belong to the same species. But there are some great men, like my father, and there are some good doctors, like you.
Thank you. What does your regular doctor say about you?
I have no regular doctor. If I had, I should have an operation a week until there was nothing left of me or of my bank account. I shall not expect you to maul me about with a stethoscope, if that is what you're afraid of. I have the lungs of a whale and the digestion of an ostrich. I have a clockwork inside. I sleep 8 hours, like a log. When I want anything, I lose my head about it so completely, I always get it.
What sort of things do you want mostly?
Everything, anything.
Everything and anything is nothing.
5 minutes ago, I wanted you. Now I have you.
Come, you cannot bluff a doctor. You may want the sun and the moon and the stars, but you cannot get them.
That is why I take great care not to want them. I only want the things I can get.
Good. A practical intellect. What do you want at present, for instance?
That is the devil of it. There's nothing one can get except more money.
I do not care for money. I care only for knowledge.
Knowledge is no use without money. Are you married?
I am married to science. One wife is enough for me, though by my religion I am allowed 4.
4? What do you mean?
I am what you call a Mohammedan.
Well, you'll have to be content with 2 wives if you marry me.
Is there any question of that between us?
Yes. I want to marry you.
Nothing doing, lady. Science is my bride.
You can have science, too. I shan't be jealous of her, but I made a solemn promise to my father on his deathbed.
Stop. I have to tell you, I made a solemn promise to my mother on her deathbed.
What?
My mother was a very wise woman. She made me swear to her that if any woman wanted to marry me, and I felt tempted, I would hand the woman 200 piastres and tell her that unless she would go out into the world with nothing but that and the clothes she stood in, and earn her living alone and unaided for 6 months, I would never speak to her again.
And if she stood the test?
Then I must marry her, even if she were the ugliest devil on earth.
And you expect me, Epifanio Ognissanti di Perega, to submit myself to this test, to any test?
I swore. I have a mother fixation. Allah willed it so. I cannot help myself.
What was your mother?
A washerwoman, a widow. She brought up 11 children. I was the youngest. The Benjamin. The other 10 are honest working folk. With their help, she made me into a man of learning. It was her ambition to have a son who could read and write. She prayed to Allah, and he endowed me with the necessary talent.
And you expect me to be beaten by an old washerwoman?
I'm afraid so. You could never pass the test.
Indeed. And my father's test for a husband worthy of me.
Oh? The husband is to be tested too. That had never occurred to me.
Not your mother either, it seems. Well, you know better now. I am to give you £150. You are to increase it to 50,000 within 6 months. How is that for a test?
Quite conclusive. At the end of 6 months, I should not have 1 penny of it left. Praise be to Allah.
You confess yourself beaten.
Absolutely. Completely.
And you think I am beaten too?
Hopelessly. You do not know what homeless poverty is. And Allah the Compassionate will take care that you never do.
How much is 200 piastres?
At the rate of exchange contemplated by my mother, about 35 shillings.
Hand it over.
Unfortunately, my mother forgot to provide for this contingency. I have not got 35 shillings. I must borrow them from you.
I never have a penny on me. No matter, borrow from my chauffeur. He will lend you £150 on my account, if you dare ask him. Goodbye. For 6 months.
No might and no majesty save in thee, O Allah, but O most great and glorious. Is this another of thy terrible jokes?
You give me that.
Hey, give that back!
No, I won't.
Give me that back!
What do you want? What are you doing here?
I'm looking for employment. A woman told me I should find it here. I am destitute.
No way to get employment, poking your nose into places that don't concern you. Get on. There's no women employed here.
You lie. There are 6 women working in there. Who employs them?
The way you talk to me, think a lot of yourself, don't you? What do you take me for?
A worm. Take care. I can use my fists. I can shoot if necessary.
Careful, Joe. She's an inspector. Look at her shoes.
I am not an inspector. And what is the matter with my shoes, pray?
Well, ma'am, could a woman looking for work at twopence halfpenny an hour afford a West End shoe like that? I can assure you we don't employ any women here. We're only caretakers.
But I saw 6 women in...
Not a soul. Go on, search your bloody basement.
Speak to the lady like that. You see, ma'am, there's not a soul.
There's a smell. You've given them a signal to hide. You are breaking the law. Give me some work, or I shall send a postcard to the Home Office.
Look here, lady, can't we arrange this? I mean, what good will it do you to get me into trouble and shut up my little shop?
What good will it do me to say nothing?
What, about £0.50 a week?
I cannot live on £0.50 a week.
You can if you look around a bit. There are others, you know.
Give me the address of the others. If I'm to live by blackmail, I must have an extended practice.
I have to pay. I don't see why the others shouldn't. Look, we take the £0.50. Look here, look at it. Listen to it. Now, you get another one of those every Wednesday if you keep the inspector off of me.
There's no use ringing £0.50 at me. I am accustomed to them. And I feel convinced you will pay 5 shillings if I insist.
5 shillings?
Have some feeling for us. You don't know the struggle we have to live.
Yeah, we're not beggars. I'll pay what the business can afford and not a penny more. You know it can afford 5 shillings. You know I can't afford any more. So here, take your 5 shillings. I'll be down to you.
Don't be so hasty.
You shut up. You can get a few shillings off, but you can't. Besides, I've a tough lot without looking at her shoes. She's got her. She knows she's got her.
Well, I don't like this blackmailing business. Of course, if I must, I must. But can you not give me any manual work?
I want to get a little deeper into our business, don't you?
I'm as deep as I can get already. You have 6 women working in there. That thing in the corner is a gas engine. That makes you a workshop under the Act. Except that the sanitary arrangements are probably appalling. There's nothing else I need to know. I have you in the hollow of my hand. You give me work that I can live by, or I'll have you cleared out of here like a wasp's nest.
Good mind to clear out anyway. There's another place where you won't find me so easy. I'm used to changing my address.
That's the one good card you have in your hand. You have some business ability. Tell me, why can you not give me work to live by, just as you give it, I suppose, to those women I saw in there?
I don't like the people I employ to know too much.
They might call in the inspector.
Calling the inspector? What sort of fool are you? They dread the inspector more than I do.
Why? Don't they want to be protected?
Well, the inspector wouldn't protect them, ma'am. He'd only shut the place down to take their jobs away from them. Or if they thought you'd be so cruel as to report them, they'd go on their knees to you to spare them.
You that knows so much about it ought to know a business like this can't afford any luxuries. It's a cheap labour business. As long as I can get women for their natural wage, I can get along with no luxuries, mind you. No trade union wages. No sanitary arrangements, as you call them. No line washing every 6 months. No separate rooms to eat in. And no fencing in a dangerous machine or anything like that. I've got a business in a week.
What is a woman's natural wage?
Tuppence eighty and a half for a 12-hour day.
Slavery.
Oh, no, Mum, nobody wouldn't call that slavery. Good worker can make 12, 15 shillings a week at it. Week in, week out.
Isn't it what the government paid at the beginning of the war? Do you expect me to pay more than the British government?
Can a woman live on 12 shillings a week?
Of course she can. What's to prevent her?
Then I will work even for that, just to prove that I can work and support myself. So give me some work and have done talking.
You started talking, you and me.
I did. I thank you for the information you have given me. It has been informative and to the point. Is that sufficient apology? Now, to work, to work. I am in a hurry to get to work.
What sort of work can you do?
Can you sew? Can you make buttonholes?
Certainly not. I don't call that work.
Well, what sort of work are you looking for?
Brain work.
Dotty.
Your work, managing work, planning work, driving work. Well, show me what you make here. Tell me how you dispose of it.
Yeah, you get on with your work. Show what you do. And when you're quite satisfied your curiosity, maybe you'll take the 5 shillings and go.
Why, don't you find my arrival a pleasant sort of adventure in this den?
I have never heard the like of your cheek, not from nobody.
Well, what do you do with these when they're finished?
Man comes with his cart and takes it away.
Does he pay you for them?
No, gives us a receipt for them. Mr. Superflu pays us for the receipts at the end of the week.
What does he do with the coats?
He takes them to the wholesaler what supplies him with the cloth. The cart brings us the cloth and it takes away the finished clothes.
Well, why don't you deal directly with the wholesaler?
Oh, no, that wouldn't be right. We don't know who they are. Mr. Superflu does. Besides, we couldn't afford horse and cart.
Oh, does Mr. Superflu own the horse and cart?
Oh, no, that wouldn't be right. He hires it by the hour from Bolton's.
Is it always the same driver?
Oh, yes, it's always old Tim Goodenough.
Write those names down. Bolton's, Superflu, good enough.
You know, I'm not your clerk.
You will be soon. Do as I tell you. Now, when good enough comes round next, tell him to tell Bolton's that he has found somebody who will buy the horse and cart for £14. Tell him if he can persuade Bolton's to part with it at that price, you will give him £1 for himself and half a crown advance in his present wage to drive the same old round to the same place. He knows the wholesalers. Mr. Superflu is superfluous.
Whose business is this? Yours or mine?
We shall see. Dare you buy a horse and cart?
Where's the money to come from?
Where does all the money come from? The bank, of course.
You've got to put it in there first, haven't you?
Not at all. Other people put it there, and the bank lends it to you if it thinks you can extend your business.
Joe, don't trust your money in a bank. No good ever come out of banks for the likes of us. Oh, don't let her tempt you, Joe.
When had you last a holiday?
Me? Holiday? We can't afford holidays. Oh, I won on Armistice Day 18 years ago.
So it's cost a world war and the slaughter of 20 million of your fellow creatures to give you the one holiday in your lifetime. I can do better for you than that.
Come on, we don't understand that sort of talk. We've got no time for it. Look, couldn't you just take our little present and go away?
That's Tim Goodenough for the clothes.
Oh, sit down. I'll deal with Tim.
Stop
now,
it,
look,
Joe.
hold your noise, hold your noise. I'll not let her interfere with us. I'll put her out all right. Now, look here, Mrs. Let's have an understanding.
There's no understanding necessary. Tim Goodenough is quite convinced the Boltons will part with the horse and cart for £10. Oh, do stop that poor woman howling. Well, I'm going now. There's not enough work for me to do here. I can do it all in a morning every week, just half a day. I should take a job as a scullery maid in a hotel to fill in the time. Meanwhile, carry on as usual. Good morning.
You're like some sort of dreamer. What can I do?
Do what she tells us, Joe. We're just like children.
Say, Seedy, isn't this jolly?
Yes, darling, it's lovely.
Nothing beats a fine weekend on the river. A pull on the water in the morning to give one a good stretch and a good appetite, a good lunch, a good laze. What more can any man desire on earth?
Oh, you row so beautifully, Ally. I love to see you sculling and punting too. You look so well standing up in that punt.
It's the quiet of it. Blessed quiet of it. You're so quiet. You know, I'm never afraid that you're going to kick up a row about nothing. The river is so smooth. I do not know which comforts me most, you or the river.
Good afternoon, sir. I hope that everything here is to your liking.
Oh, yes, indeed. But what have you done with the old place? I mean, when I was here last, a year ago, it was a common pub called the Pig and Whistle.
It was so until quite lately, sir. My father kept the old Pig and Whistle, so did his forefathers, right back to the reign of William the Conqueror. It was on its last legs when you saw it, sir. I was ashamed of it.
Oh, you've done a very good job with it now, I must say.
Oh, it has nothing to do with me, sir. I am only the manager. You wouldn't believe it if I were to tell you the story, but I mustn't disturb you.
No, my dear fellow. Far away.
Well, one day a woman came here and asked for a job as a scullery maid. My father didn't have the nerve to turn her out. He said that she might just try for a day or two. So she started in. She washed 2 dishes, and she broke 6. My poor old mother was furious. She thought the world of her dishes. She said that as the girl had broken them, she should pay for them, even if she had to stay for a month, and have the price stopped out of her wages. Off went the girl to Reading and came back with a whole lot of new crockery that made my poor old mother cry. She said that we would be disgraced forever if we were to ever serve anything of such old-fashioned things. But the very next day, an American lady with a boating party bought them straight off the table for 3 times what they cost, and my poor mother never dared to say another word. From then on, the scullery maid took things into her own hands in a way that we could never have done. It was cruel for us, but we couldn't deny that she was always right.
Cruel? But what was there cruel in getting nice crockery for you?
Oh, it wasn't only that, madam. That part was easy and pleasant enough. But what was wrong with the old Pick and Whistle was not so much the old thick plate which took away your appetite, but it was the old people that it had gathered about itself, who were past their work and had never been up to much according to modern ideas. The scullery maid simply told them the truth about themselves, and it cut them to pieces. For it was the truth, and I couldn't deny it. The old man had to give in because he'd raised money on his freehold and was at his wit's end to know how to pay back his mortgage interest. Before we knew what was happening, the scullery maid had paid off the mortgage and had completely got the whip hand of all of us. It's time for you two to sell your freehold and retire, she said. You're doing no good here.
Oh, that was dreadful to root them up like that.
Well, it was hard, but it was the truth. And now the house is a credit to the neighbourhood and gives more employment than ever the old pig did, even in its best days. And I am the manager, with a salary and a percentage beyond anything that I could have ever dreamt of.
And are the old people contented and happy?
Well, no. The change was too much for them at their time of life. My father had a stroke and is not likely to recover, and my mother's gone a bit silly. But it was best for them, and they have all the comforts that they care for.
That's a very moving tale. More so than you might think, my dear fellow, because I happen to know a woman of that stamp. Oh, by the way, I telegraphed a friend of mine to come and spend the weekend here, a Mr. Sagamore. I trust there'll be a room for him.
Oh, that'll be quite all right, thank you.
Have you many people staying in the house this weekend?
Oh, less than usual, madam. We have an Egyptian doctor who takes his meals here. Then there is another gentleman, an invalid. He's just been discharged from the cottage hospital. The Egyptian doctor recommended our chef to him, and he takes his meals here, too. And that is all, madam, unless some fresh visitors arrive.
Well, I suppose we'll have to put up with them.
I'm sorry to trouble you, sir, but you came in this morning without signing the visitor's book. I brought it in. I wonder if you'll be so
Yes, of course, I'm so sorry. Right. There we are.
Thank you so much, sir. Oh, indeed, sir. We are honoured.
Anything wrong?
Oh, no, sir, nothing wrong. Quite the contrary. Mr. and Mrs. Fitzfassenden. It's such an unusual name. Have I the honour of entertaining the celebrated...
Yes, well, I am the boxing champion and the tennis champion, but you see, I'm here on holiday, and I'd rather not talk about it anymore or refer to it.
I quite understand, sir. I wouldn't have mentioned it, but that the proprietress of this hotel, the lady that I spoke to you of, is a Mrs. Fitzfassenden.
What? Let me out of this! Seedy, pack the bags! I want my bill, please, instantly!
Certainly, sir, but she's not here at present, and I do not expect her this weekend.
Oh, don't fuss, Sally.
The weekend is spoiled!
May I say, sir, that she won't come? She's given up paying us unexpected visits now that she knows that she can depend on me.
Alistair! Miss Smith! What does this mean, Sagamore? You never told me who you were bringing me to see. You said 2 friends.
Well, Mr. Bland, we are pleased to see you. Won't you sit down?
Adrian, what's happened? What have you done to yourself?
Everybody asks me what I have done to myself. I haven't done anything to myself. I suppose you mean this and this. They are what your wife has done to me. That is why Sagamore should not have brought me here.
My dear fellow, I really am most frightfully sorry.
Oh, won't you sit down, Mr. Bland? Come and rest yourself on this couch. Dear. Well, we don't mind what Mrs. Fitzfassenden does.
But I do. You are most kind, but I cannot claim the privilege of a friend and at the same time be the plaintiff in an action for assault and battery.
Yes, you can. There's nothing new about the situation. Now, do come and make yourself comfortable, Adrian.
Well, very kind of you. And I really can't stand any longer. But I don't understand why Sagamore should have played such a trick on me. And, of course, on you, too.
Well, the truth of the matter is that Blenderland won't be reasonable. So I thought you two might help me bring him to his senses.
No use, Sagamore. £2,500 and costs, not a penny less.
Too much is ridiculous.
£2,500 and medical expenses and costs.
And cab fare to the cottage hospital, I suppose.
No, I went in her own car. But now you mention it, I tipped the chauffeur. Don't misunderstand me. It's not the money I mind. It's the principle of the thing. It's a question of honour, of self-respect.
Yes, but how do you arrive at the figure? Why is your honour and self-respect worth £2,500 and not 2,500 millions?
My brother got £2,500 from the railway company when an electric truck butted into him on the platform at Paddington Station. I will not let Epiphania off with less. It was an unprovoked, brutal, cowardly assault.
I'm extremely sorry, sir, but Mrs. Fitzfassenden is outside with the Egyptian doctor.
What?
I really did not expect her.
You have allowed my husband to bring a woman to my hotel and register her in my name. You are fired.
I'm extremely sorry, madam. I had no idea that the gentleman was your husband. However, you were always right. Would you like me to go at once, or shall I stay until you can replace me?
I do not wish you to go at all. You are re-engaged. Throw them both out instantly.
Your manager cannot throw Alistair out. Alistair can throw all of us out if it comes to that. And as to Miss Smith, this is a licensed house, and she has as much right to be here as you or I.
I shall set fire to the hotel if necessary. Oh, hello. Adrian here, too. What has happened to your head? What are those sticks for? Send for the doctor at once. Have you hurt yourself?
Hurt myself? Hurt myself?
Has he been run over?
This woman has half killed me, and she asks me, have I hurt myself? I fell down the whole flight of stairs. My ankle was sprained, my knee was twisted, the small bone of my leg was broken, my spine was ricked. I had to give them a subscription at the cottage hospital where your man took me. I had to go from there to a nursing home. 12 guineas a week. I had to call in 3 Harley Street surgeons, and none of them knew anything about dislocated knees. They wanted to cut my knee open. I had to go to a bone setter, and he charged me 50 guineas.
Well, why did you not walk downstairs properly? Were you drunk?
He declares that his injuries were inflicted by you when you last met Mrs. Fitzfassenden.
By me? Am I a prize fighter? Am I a coal heaver?
Both.
Do you deny that you assaulted him?
Of course I deny it. Anything more monstrous I have never heard. What happened was he insulted my father grossly. It was most unprovoked. At a moment when I had every reason to expect the utmost tenderness from him. The blood rushed to my head. The next thing I remember was I was lying across the table, trembling, dying. The doctor who found me will tell you what my condition was.
I don't care what your condition was. What condition did your chauffeur find me in?
He's taking an action against you.
An action? Very well. You know my invariable rule. Fight him to the last ditch, no matter what it costs. Take him to the House of Lords, if necessary. We shall see whose purse holds out the longest. I will not be blackmailed.
You think your father's money places you above the law?
Again?
No, none of that, none of that. Toko, my girl, Toko. Oh, she knows. Toko is an infallible medicine for calming the nerves.
You are
A blow in the solar plexus and a day in bed, that is Toko.
You are a witness, Mr. Sagamore, how I go in fear of my husband's brutal violence. He can torture me, batter me, kill me. He is stronger than I am. It is the last argument of the lower nature against the higher. My innocence is useless. Do your worst.
Quite safe now, ladies and gentlemen.
Now you know how I feel. It serves you right.
I do not wish to hear any more about Mr. Blenderbland and his ridiculous injuries.
Now, do be a little reasonable, Mrs. Fitzfassenden. How are we to discuss the compensation due to Mr. Blenderbland without mentioning his injuries?
There is no compensation due to Mr. Blenderbland. He deserved what he got, whatever it was.
But he will take an action against you.
Then take one against him first.
What for?
Oh, never mind. I don't care. Don't bother me about it. Claim £20,000 damages. I tell you, I will not be blackmailed.
Neither will I. I am entitled to compensation, and I mean to have it.
You are not
Stay, please. No, I cannot advise either of you to go to law. But quite seriously, Mrs. Fitzfassenden, Mr. Blenderbland is entitled to some compensation. You can afford it.
Mr. Sagamore, a woman as rich as I am cannot afford anything. I have to fight to keep every penny I possess. Every blackmailer, every swindler, every charity, every testimonial, every political cause, every league and brotherhood and sisterhood, every church and chapel, every institution of every kind on earth is busy from morning to night trying to bleed me to death. If I weaken for a moment, if I let a farthing go, I shall be destitute by the end of the month. I subscribe 1 guinea a year to the Income Taxpayers Defence Fund, and that is all. Absolutely all. My standing instructions to you are to fight every action and to forestall every claim for damages with a counterclaim for 20 times the amount. That is the only way I can write across the sky, hands off my money.
You see, Mr. Blenderbland, it's no use. You must withdraw your threat of an action.
I won't.
You will, you must.
Oh, we're wasting time. Give him a £10 note and be done with it.
A £10 note?
Oh, Mrs. Fitzfassenden.
Yes, a £10 note. No man can resist a £10 note if you crackle it under his nose.
He wants 2,500.
Not a penny less.
Adrian, my child, I have underrated you. Your cheek, your gluttony, your obstinacy impose respect upon me. I threw a half-baked gentleman down the stairs, and my chauffeur picked him up off the mat, a magnificently complete skunk.
5,000 for that, Sagamore, do you hear?
Please, please, do keep your temper.
Keep your own temper. Has she lamed you for life? Has she raised a bump on your head? Has she called you a skunk?
No, but you may at any moment.
Oh, my Sagamore, my treasure. Shall I give him 5,000 on condition he turn it into 1 million in 6 months?
I will do what I like with it. I will have it unconditional.
Mr. Bland, it's a mistake to go into court in the character of a man who's been called a skunk. It's also very difficult for a plaintiff to get sympathy in the character of a man who's been thrashed by a woman. Now, if Mrs. Fitzfassenden had stabbed you, or shot you, or poisoned you, that would have been quite in order. So your dignity would not have been compromised. But Mrs. Fitzfassenden knows better. She'd come into court, beautifully dressed, looking her best, and long before we can get the case into the lists, the bump on your head will have subsided, your broken bone will have set, and the colour will have come back to your cheeks. So, unless you can provoke Mrs. Fitzfassenden to assault you again the day before the trial, and she's far too clever for that, the chances are 1,000,000 to 1 against you.
Yes, Splendid Bland, you wouldn't stand a dog's chance.
Alistair's quite right. Ask her nicely, perhaps she'll pay your expenses.
Is there no justice for a man against a woman?
Believe me, no, not against a millionairess.
And what justice is there for a millionairess, I should like to know?
Oh, in the courts,
I was not
everything's-
talking of the courts. I was speaking of the justice of heaven.
Oh, Lord, now we're for it.
Alistair, how can you jeer at me? Is it just because I am a millionairess I cannot keep my husband, cannot keep even a lover, cannot keep anything except my money? There you sit before my very eyes, snuggling up to that insignificant little nothingness who cannot afford her own stockings, and you are happy, and she is happy. Here is this suit of clothes on 2 sticks. What does it contain?
Oh, let me alone, will you?
Something that once resembled a man, something that liked lending me £5 notes and never asked me to repay them. Why? Kindness to me, love of me, no. The swank of a poor man lending to a millionairess. In my divine wrath, I smashed him, as a child smashes a disappointing toy. And when he was brought down to his real self, I found I was not a woman to him. I was a bank account with a good cook.
That's all very well, dear, but the truth is no one can live with you.
And anyone can live with you. And apparently you can live with anyone.
Well, what CD says is the God's truth. Nobody could live with you.
Why? Why?
Be reasonable, Mrs. Fitzfassenden. Can one live with a tornado? With an earthquake? With an avalanche?
Yes, thousands of people live on the slopes of volcanoes, in the track of avalanches, and on land thrown up only yesterday by earthquakes. But with a millionairess who can rise to her destiny and wield the power her money gives her, no. Well, be it so. I shall live in my lonely little house and be myself, until I find a man good enough to be to me what Alistair is to seedy stockings.
Well, I hope you don't have to wait too long, dear.
I never wait. I march on, and when I come upon anything I want, I grab it. I grabbed you, Alistair. I find he does not suit me. He beats me.
Only in self-defense. I never laid a finger on you except in self-defense.
Yes, you are like all the great European powers. You only fight in self-defense. You do not suit. I throw you to greedy seedy stockings. You can punch her about to your heart's content. Mr. Sagamore arranged the divorce. Cruelty and adultery.
Oh, but I don't like this. It's not fair to Alistair. Why should he be divorced instead of you?
Mr. Sagamore, take an action against Miss Patricia Smith for alienating my husband's affections. Damages £20,000.
Oh, Mr. Sagamore, is such a thing possible?
I'm afraid it is, Miss Smith, quite possible.
Well, my dear old father used to say that in the law courts there was only one way to beat the people who had unlimited money, and that's to have no money at all. Can't get 20,000 out of me.
Damn your old father.
That's one for you, Effie.
I'm afraid the laugh is with old Mr. Smith, Mrs. Fitzfassenden. Because where there is nothing, the king loses his rights.
Oh, I can bear no more of this. I shall live in utter loneliness until I find the right man, the mate created for me in heaven. He must be somewhere.
The manager says I'm wanted here. Who wants me?
I want you. Come here.
Something wrong with your blood pressure, eh? Oh. I have never felt such a pulse. It is like a slow sledgehammer.
Is my pulse my fault?
No, it is the will of Allah. All our pulses are part of the will of Allah.
Now, look here. You know, Doc, that won't go down in this country. We don't believe in Allah.
That does not disconcert Allah in the least, my friend. The pulse beats still. Slow, strong. You are a terrible woman, but I love your pulse. I have never felt anything like it before.
Oh, fancy that. He loves her pulse.
I am a doctor. Women as you fancy them are nothing to me but bundles of ailments. But the life, the pulse, is the heartbeat of Allah, save in whom there is no majesty and no might.
My pulse will never change. This is the love I crave for. I will marry you. Mr. Sagamore, take out a special license the moment you've got rid of Alistair.
It is not possible. We are bound by our vows.
Well, have I not passed your mother's test? I came to this hotel a scullery maid. I'm now its owner.
But what of the old people whose natural home this place had become? The old man, the old woman. Was not this preying on the poverty of the poor? Shall I, a servant of Allah, live on such gains?
I have to take the world as I find it.
The wrath of Allah shall overtake those who leave this world no better than they found it.
I think Allah loves those who make money.
All the evidence is that way, certainly.
I do not see it so. I see that riches are a curse. Poverty is a curse. And only in the service of Allah is there righteousness, justice, and happiness. But all this talk is idle. This lady has easily fulfilled the conditions imposed by my mother, but I have not fulfilled the conditions imposed by the lady's father.
You need not trouble. I can show you how to turn 150 into 50,000.
You cannot. It is gone.
You cannot have spent it all. You who live like a mouse. There must be some of it left.
Not a penny, not a piastre. Allah...
Oh, bother Allah. What did you do with it?
Allah is never bothered. On that afternoon when you left me to earn your own living, I called upon the merciful, the compassionate, to reveal to me whether you were not one of the strokes of his infinite humor. Then I sat down and took up a newspaper, and behold, a paragraph headed Wills and Bequests. I read a name that I cannot remember, a Mrs. Somebody of Clapham Park, £122,000. She had never done anything but live in Clapham Park, and she left £122,000. But what was the second name? It was that of the teacher who changed my whole life and gave me a new soul by opening the world of science to me. I was his assistant for 4 years. He used to make his own apparatus for his experiments. And then one day, he needed a filament of metal that would resist a temperature that would melt platinum like sealing wax.
Buy the patent, if it hasn't been snapped up already.
He never took out a patent. He believed that knowledge is no man's property, and he had neither time nor money to spend in patent offices. Millions have been made out of that discovery of his by people who care nothing about science and everything about money. He left £400 and a widow. That good woman who had been a second mother to me, a shilling a day for her at most, not even 1 piastre an hour.
That comes of marrying an incompetent dreamer.
The merciful, the compassionate heard the widow's prayer. Listen. I once cured a prime minister when he imagined himself to be ill. I went to him and told him that it was the will of Allah that the widow should receive a civil pension. She received it, £100. I went to the great metallurgical trust which exploits his discovery and told them that her poverty was a scandal in the face of Allah. They were rich and generous. They made a special issue of founders' shares worth £300 a year to her. But all this took time. The illness, the nurse, the funeral, the disposal of the laboratory, the change to a cheaper lodging had left her without a penny. Between the death and the pensions, there was a gap exactly £150 wide. He who is just and exact supplied that sum through your chauffeur's hands and through mine. It rejoiced my heart as money has never rejoiced it before. But instead of coming to you with £50,000, I am in arrears with my bill for my bread in your hotel, and I'm expecting every day to be told by your manager that this cannot go on. I must settle.
Well, you didn't do very well for yourself, but you did very well for the widow. And to escape Epi. I mean, she won't marry you with empty pockets.
Pray, why? 50,000 must have been made 10 times over in that discovery. And the doctor, in putting my £150 in the widow's necessary expenses, may be said to have made a retrospective investment in that discovery and has shown the greatest stability in the affair, has he not, Mr. Sagamore?
Unquestionably. He's settled the widow's affairs to perfection.
But I'm in debt for my food.
Well, if it comes to that, I am in debt for my food. I got a letter this morning from my purveyors saying that I have paid them nothing for 2 years, and that if I do not send them something on account, they will be obliged to resort to the premises.
What does that mean?
Sell my furniture.
You cannot sell mine, I'm afraid. I have hardly any.
If you have a stick, she will sell it. She is the meanest woman in England.
That is why I am also the richest. Mr. Sagamore, my mind is made up. I will marry this doctor, ascertain his name, and make the necessary arrangements.
You take care, Doctor. She is unfaithful to her husband in wanting to marry you. She flirted with me, took me down the river and made me believe I was to be Alistair's successor long before ever she saw you. See what she's done to me. She will do the same to you when the next man takes her fancy.
What have you to say to that?
You must learn to take chances in this world. This disappointed philanderer tries to frighten you with my unfaithfulness. He has never been married. I have. And I tell you, in the very happiest marriages, not a day passes without 1,000 moments of unfaithfulness. You begin by thinking you have one husband. You find you have a dozen. There is the creature you hate and despise and are tied to for life. And before breakfast is over, the fool says something nice and becomes the man you admire and love. And between these extremes, there are 1,000 degrees with a different man and woman at each of them. A wife is all women to one man. She is everything that is devilish, the thorn in his side, the jealous termagant, the detective dogging all his movements, the nagger, the scolder, the worrier. He has only to tell her an affectionate lie, and she becomes his comfort, his helper. At best, his greatest treasure. At worst, his troublesome but beloved child. All wives are all these women in one. All husbands, all these men in one. What do the unmarried know of this infinitely dangerous, heart-tearing life of adventure we call marriage? Face it as you would face a dangerous operation. Have you not performed hundreds of them?
Of a surety, there is no wit and no wisdom like that of a woman ensnaring the mate chosen for her by Allah. Yet I am very well as I am. Why should I change? I shall be very happy as an old bachelor.
Can you feel my pulse every day as an old bachelor?
I had forgotten the pulse. 1, 2, 3. It is irresistible. It is a pulse in 100,000. I love it. I cannot give it up.
You will regret it to the last day of your life.
Mr. Sagamore, you have your instructions.
Congratulations, darling.